if you're anything like me and you've been on your investing journey for a while, but you've been investing consistently inconsistent, or you feel like the money you have to invest is too small and it's not worth it, or you're a beginner and you don't know where to begin altogether, in this video I'm going to share with you how you can begin your investing journey with as little as £100. My name is Ruth, and on this channel we share practical tips for the everyday worker to take better control of their finances. The goal is simple: we want to earn more, save better, and invest simpler. So if you're ready to begin your investing journey, let's just get straight into it. So we're gonna first talk about mindset, which is very, very important. That's the foundation and the basis for your investing journey. And this is gonna be really quick. I want you to look at investing as something that is long term, something that's gonna be 10, 20, 30, 40 years, depending on your age. Obviously, the younger you are, the longer you have to invest. But it's not impossible to start investing at any age, because I've seen on YouTube, like, people started investing in their 40s, in their 50s, and they have a good amount of money invested. So it's not impossible to start investing at any age, but obviously the younger you start, the better. But with that being said, I started investing when I was in my 20s, but I wasn't consistent at all. There'll be months where I invested a little bit and then I'll go a whole year or two without investing, and then I'll invest a little bit again. So one thing I learned from that is that investing a little bit every month, regardless of however much it is. So if I had invested £10 every month and I invested that consistently, I would have been further along in my journey right now at the age of 30 than I am right now. So one thing I always scream at the top of my lungs is, even if it's £1 you have at the end of the month, invest in it. When your money's in the market, it compounds over time. So your money gets to spend a lot more time in the market and grow over time. Obviously, you know, there'll be times in the year or during your investing journey where your money will go up, then your money will go down. That's normal. But remember, our goal is long term, so we are not getting scared or panicking during times when the market is going down. Rather, that's even the best time to start adding more money to buy your stocks. Well, in our case, index funds. But yeah, that's for later part of the video. So all in all, have that mindset of, I'm trying to invest long term. Little is better than nothing. Slow and steady wins the race. And I'm telling you, that will save you a lot of what if I had invested more, or what if I started investing a year ago. I wish I started investing when I was 20. I wish I started investing when I was 30. If you have that mindset, you need to park that mindset somewhere. Forget about what you haven't done, and now you're in the present. Let's just begin the journey and begin thinking small investments over time is better than no investment. So now we're going to get into the meat of the video, and we're going to talk about the simple investing system. When you invest in the stock market, there are two general things that people tend to invest in. They either invest in individual stocks, or you can invest in index funds. So individual stocks are basically the individual companies. So you have people say, oh, I invest in Tesla, I invest in Apple, I invest in Microsoft. Sidebar, it's crazy how you hear stories like, or people say things like, if you invested $1,000 in Apple 20 years ago, your stocks will be worth more than $100,000. Firstly, who knew that Apple would be where Apple is right now? Because there were so many, for every Apple, there were so many companies back then who were doing something similar and came and crashed. Forget computers. We can use an example of companies like Motorola for phones, or Nokia for phones. Nokia used to be the phone company when I was in secondary school and when I was in primary school. And where is Nokia now? Where is Nokia now? Does anyone even use a Nokia phone right now? No. When people are saying things like that, just pause and don't get overwhelmed that, oh my gosh, I need to find a stock that is gonna blow. Don't get sucked into the flashiness of picking individual stocks. That's what I would say, because I have picked individual stocks in the past, but my strategy has completely shifted, mainly because of lifestyle, because right now I'm not really into constantly monitoring my portfolio. I also don't have time to research companies properly, look at them, what the company's about, try to decide their intrinsic value, try to figure out when the stock is at a discount, all these kind of things that you need to consider when it comes to picking a stock. It's not as easy as just watching a video or reading an article or reading a tweet that someone says or hearing information about a particular stock and just buying it. I don't believe in that. I feel like when you're buying a stock, you need to sit on it, understand why you're buying into that company. All of these decisions, people don't consider that or think about that when they pick individual stocks. They just pick what they like. Oh, Netflix is doing well. Oh, I like Amazon. Amazon is doing well. I just don't think that that's the right way to pick individual stocks. Don't get me wrong, I may dibble and dabble again in individual stocks, but right now I'm more focused in just finding the most simplest strategy for me to invest consistently over time, and that's it. It's been on a whole tangent. And then you have index funds, and index funds is literally having a basket of companies, investing in a whole bunch of different companies. The way I'm investing in index funds is through ETFs. That's the simplest way to get diversification, invest in different markets, invest in different industries, invest in different size companies. Those are the two main ways that people generally invest in the stock market. So individual stocks and index funds. So the ones I invest in is the FTSE All World ETF, and I also invest in the Nasdaq 100. I used to invest in S&P 500, but I've stopped investing in S&P 500 only because I wanted more of a global coverage, meaning that it covers both developed and emerging markets. About 60% of that global market tracker overlaps with S&P 500 anyways. I would say it's up to personal choice. Some people do strongly believe in the US completely, and they only invest in S&P 500, which has had great returns over the last 1 to 3 decades. So it is a great ETF to have. However, I've just moved more towards a global coverage with a slight tilt towards technology, and I use the Nasdaq 100 to do that slight tilt. Another thing I want to point out that I need to mention is that when you're picking ETFs, you need to know what companies that they're investing in, because a lot of the times these major players like global trackers, S&P 500, Nasdaq 100, they tend to have the same big players. So if you keep investing in ETFs that have the same companies over and over and over again, you're technically not diversifying anything. If you want me to do a little deep dive into ETFs a bit more, you can just let me know in the comments, because this is not ETF video. I don't want to go too off tangent with this. In summary, the most simplest strategy in my opinion is to create a portfolio of ETFs. It all depends on your risk appetite. Now that you've picked a strategy to go by and you've gone and done your due diligence with what stocks you want to pick if you're doing individual stocks, or what ETFs you want to pick if you're doing like an ETF portfolio, now you need to pick a stocks and shares ISA. Now, when it comes to investing in the UK, because I'm in the UK, the best way to protect your investment from taxes is to use a stocks and shares ISA. When you're using lots of different platforms, there's an option to just invest regularly in an investment account, or you can invest in a stocks and shares account. I made the mistake with my early 20s. I was just investing in a regular investing account, and I knew about stocks and shares ISA, but I wasn't that hip to it. I just thought, oh, the money I'm investing is small, it doesn't really matter. Regardless of how much you're investing, it could be £1, £2, £10, £100, £1,000, 100,000. It needs to go into stocks and shares ISA, because you want to protect your dividends from being taxed. You also want to protect your capital gains from being taxed. Wherever you are in any other country, I'm sure you guys have a particular account that is tax is like kind of like a tax haven, tax protected, that can help you protect your investments from being taxed, obviously to a certain amount of money. Please make sure you protect your investments in a stocks and shares ISA. Lessons that I've learned: the most simplest strategy that you can have is investing in ETFs. And it may seem boring, it may not seem as flashy. Like, for example, if someone's asking, what are you invested in? And you just say, I'm invested in a global ETF, or I'm invested in an emerging market ETF, or I'm invested in the S&P 500. It doesn't seem flashy, it doesn't seem exciting, compared to saying, oh, I'm invested in Nike, I'm invested in Tesla, I'm invested in Microsoft. That sounds a bit, you're doing something for yourself. But remember, the name of the game is consistency, and it's simplicity. You want something that you can maintain long term, that isn't going to give you stress, that's also supposed to be a bit enjoyable. Like, this is a long term thing. You don't want to be stressed when it comes to investing, because you need to actually have a calm mental state and calm mental mind, so that you don't emotionally panic and sell. That's why you have people, when the market dips, they panic and start selling. When the prices start to rise again, they panic and start buying again. And all that emotional ups and downs when it comes to investing can easily just be avoided if you do a strategy that aligns with your lifestyle, a strategy that aligns with your mindset, a strategy that aligns with your risk appetite. Those are really, really important. You need to understand what you're willing to lose, and that kind of determines how you create your portfolio. So the final little nuggets I'm going to leave with you today is understand different investment vehicles, because we spoke about the stock market today. So we spoke about stocks and ETFs. There's so many investment vehicles that you can use, like real estate, commodities, crypto. So many different kinds of investment vehicles that you can pick. Do your research. You need to know which ones you want to invest in, and also see this as a journey, a long-term journey, so you don't get stressed about the market going up and down, and enjoy the journey, because life is meant to be enjoyed. You're not supposed to be stressed 24/7. This is supposed to be an enjoyable experience. And that's why I always say only invest what you know you can lose, so you don't have sleepless nights. It's not worth having sleepless nights, okay? Your health is more important than wealth. So invest what you know you can lose, because nothing is guaranteed. And that's a wrap. So don't forget to like, share, subscribe, share it with a friend, with a family member, with your partner, with your siblings, with your parents, with anyone who you feel like will find this very useful. And if you have any topics you want me to deep dive into, just leave them in the comments and I'll try and make a video on them. That's me done. Thanks for watching. Bye.